And what's good, YouTube? It's Supreme J here. Now today we are going to be getting into 5 starter cars that I think you should get if you're getting into the car scene or if you're getting your first car and you know that you're into cars. So, with that being said, I have a very different opinion than most when it comes to this. I'm not going to fill this list up with BRZs and 370Zs and cars like that. My goal as someone that's already went through this is to actually recommend you guys cars that you are going to actually want to keep for a long time and that you're not going to basically just straight up burn money on. At the end of the day, when you buy a car, you're going to lose some money, and especially when you modify a car, you're going to lose some money. And so you don't want to do that on a car at the bottom of the barrel. You don't want to go and buy a $10,000 car and then put $5,000 wheels on it. You don't. But also, if you're barely turning 18, you're looking to get your first car like that, it is much better if you have $10,000 saved up to put $5,000 down, build your credit, take that hit on that first car buyer's bad interest rate, and be done with it. Because at the end of the day, you're going to want to upgrade at some point in life, and you don't want to have to worry about paying that heavy interest then. It's better to get that out the way now. Now also, when I was thinking about this list, I was thinking about cars that have the potential to be driven faster, but also to be modded very, very well. The cars that I always see that people are always able to make unique in so many different ways, whether they're able to go for stance, performance, track builds, or just a clean build in general. But how many options are out there in the aftermarket scene for you guys? And so that's why I picked the list that I did based on some personal experience or from friends. And lastly, when you're shopping for a car, and this is something that I wish I would have understood better, there is obviously things called options. Now, you have your cars like a Mustang GT and then your Mustang GT Premium, but even within those trim levels, cars have different options that you can get on them, and you want to buy a car that has all of the options on it because at the end of the day, yes, not everything is about money and the value, and it's okay to buy a depreciating asset because it's going to bring you joy. That's fine. But you don't want to get the bottom of the barrel. At least get yourself something with decent options because that's what helps it hold value later. And so that way, when you do lose money, you're not losing as much. Don't go and make the mistake that I've done and buy the cheapest option on Car Gurus. Actually be picky. Get that color you want. Get that interior color you want. Get it with low mileage. Do things like that and you'll thank yourself so much for it later. Look at how many owners it's had. Look at how many accidents it's had. Look at the Carfax. Actually take your time because trust me, I know how exciting it is to want to get your first car. But the worst thing that you can do is rush into it because even though you'll be over the moon when you first get the car, for most people at some point you're going to get tired of it and you're going to want to move on. So be smart. But without further ado though, let's get into this list. Starting things off, we have the Subaru WRX. These cars are actually pretty fun, although they are low in power, but they still pack a little punch. And also, the modding capabilities for these cars is really, really endless. There's so many different tail light, headlight options. There's so many different routes you can go with how you choose to build the car. You can go for a rally car track build. You can go for a stance look. All those different options. Has a decent interior. And so overall, if you're the type of person that can't handle high horsepower because you just know you're too immature and you don't want to crash, so you want to get something more chill, this is one of the only cars that I would get for under 20,000. They're at least within the past 10 years, so they're not too old. And I just seen an example for like 17,000 with like 64,000 miles here in Northern California. So if I was looking for a car and my focus wasn't going to be power, I would definitely go with a car like this. They look clean for sedans, and I'm not really a sedan guy, but they look clean. And like I said, you can really mod these cars in any given direction, and it's going to still be a fun car to take to the canyons and have fun, especially as a first car. Coming in at the other option that you can get for under $20,000, I'm going to say an S197 Mustang. This is for my peeps that know that they can handle a little bit more power, and you guys aren't going to be idiots. I had a 2018 Mustang GT as my first car, and I wasn't a dummy, so I didn't crash it like the Mustang owners get a bad rep for. With that being said, though, this is the perfect first car because one, you're not going to waste money buying a V6 muscle car, so you're going to have the V8 from the start. You're going to have a lot of different options as far as cosmetically modding the car, for as far as getting some nice wheels on this car, and you're going to be able to grow with the car. Once you get used to and get a feel for that, 420 horsepower that these cars come with, then you can start to explore modding the car's engine, such as going full bolt-on, E85. And if you really fall in love with the car, and this is a car that you end up keeping for a long, long time, you can even do bigger things, like supercharge it, procharge it, all of these things. So this is the perfect starter car because I feel like you're not going to grow out of it as fast. You're not going to want to move up as fast. And you could really spend a long, long time building this car and just making it look really, really clean. And like I said, you can get it initially for under $20,000. And the 5.0, especially this first generation, I haven't heard any big problems with it. I know that the MT82 is a pretty weak transmission if you want a manual. But regardless, though, this is probably one of the only other cars that I would get for under $20,000. I wouldn't waste my time with basically anything else besides some of these two cars here. Coming up next on the list, slightly raising up the budget, I'm going to go ahead and say the Infiniti Q60 or Q50, depending on if you like a coupe or a sedan. Now, the reason why I have these cars right here is because you can get a basically relatively almost brand new one of these for low 20s because they haven't really held their value that well, which in this case is going to be a good thing. You want to get a cheaper car. But you can definitely pack some power on these. They come stock with 300, but you can definitely get these up to $500. I know because, not $500, 500 horsepower. I know because that's what my boy did with his. It was a really fast car. There's a lot of great modding potential for these as well. Once again, you can go for a stance look, you can go for a race car look, or you can just go for just a nice clean look. And so this is actually a car that I had considered way back when I was shopping for cars. And they also feature a nice luxury interior, so you're going to get nicer things such as leather seats, heated seats, and some of the technology that you might not be able to get with a car that's under $20,000. And so if you can stretch your budget this far, this is definitely the main car that I would go for the low 20s. I haven't really seen the market on too many other cars, but I know without a doubt though this would be my number one option if my budget was around $25,000. Next up is actually my current car, and that is an F82 M4. And now this is for my bigger budget boys. This is going to be if you have a budget of about $40,000. Now obviously for most people that's not going to be something realistic, but you never know. Nowadays all my young boys are hustling out here getting money, so it wouldn't put it past me if a couple of y'all are able to get a car like this as your first car. Let me tell you right off the bat, if you're going to get a BMW, you might as well get the M car. Don't waste your time and money getting a 340. It's not worth it. They depreciate too heavily. I mean, even these cars are depreciating pretty badly, and so not paying the extra penny for the M car to at least hold a little bit better value is suicide. And so yeah, I would definitely recommend the F8X chassis car. You can get the M3 or the M4. The M4 is always a little bit cheaper because it's the coupe. But with that, you're going to get a pretty luxurious interior. You're also going to have a big range of, modding capabilities with the car as well. They're not going to be the most reliable, but if you have this type of money to afford this as your first car, you should be able to make sure you account for maintenance costs as well. The car handles great, and all around it's just a really nice daily car. And so if you really want something that you're probably going to enjoy for a long time as your first starter car, and you're in this price range, I would go for this car. Just make sure you get one with low miles. Now coming in lastly, this is for all my big dogs that are getting into the car scene, all my young boys that set themselves up good, or maybe they just got, daddy's money. Hey, props to you. If I could have got a car for about $50,000, between 50 to 60, going into my first car, I would take the Supra. It's going to be probably one of the newest cars you can get, if not the newest car you can get for that price range. It's going to have great performance with the B58. You're going to still have the luxury of having something like a warranty, which all these other cars besides the Q60 you're probably not going to have. And also, once again, the modding and cosmetic modifications that you can do for this car is just so endless. You have so many different directions that you can go for. They have a nice exterior with all the upgraded luxury features. And trust me, as someone that got into a 2018 Mustang Premium as my first car, having the Apple CarPlay, having the nice sound system, having the heated seats, the cooled seats, all of that extra stuff that you might not really know what it's like to have, you're going to want to have. Once you go there, you never want to go back. And so if for whatever reason you're going to get into the car scene and you have the budget of a Supra, I would just go for a Supra. Or if you're, just wanting to wait and save and just get a really solid car as your first car and actually have that car for a long time, I would get one of these last two cars.